All right, kiddos. This is going to be one of our final lessons that we're going to do like this, because what I'm going to try and do is start doing some YouTube videos of me teaching with like a flip chart or some other cool stuff like that. But this is still the easiest mode for right this minute until I get all that set up. So we're just going to go through our PowerPoint just like we have been so far and show you some new things that are going to be changing because administrations asked us to. So they want us to be all on the same page as far as the way our classroom is set up. And so I'm going to make some adaptations. I didn't change all of it today because I knew it would overwhelm you. So we're just going to talk about how it's going to look tomorrow and show you what I changed. So Reconstruction in South Carolina, part 2. So we covered part 1 yesterday, and we're on part 2, obviously, today. And here's part of what I wanted to show you. We are going to have this type of a slide embedded into the lesson PowerPoints. That way, if your parents are like, hey, little Johnny, did you do your work? You can say, look, there were 4 things, and click on a hyperlink to show them all 4 things you did. And so I'm trying to set that up. So your attendance is already live, things like that. Hawk Focus, the lesson where you can find this PowerPoint, and then the assignment. Now, to me personally, this is actually more difficult, but it does make it more simple for a parent to see what you had to do. So I'm going to, do exactly what they asked me to do and provide these slides for you so you can see, oh, hey, this is exactly what I had to do in one place. So it's a one-stop shop. But I'm going to show you the easier way to navigate this and to make sure you get credit for doing it in just a moment. So let's take a look really fast at Classroom. If we go to Classroom, and we'll just use 1A for an example. As you can see, I have cleaned up your news feed tremendously. I did away with any clutter on the feed, and it is nothing more than just what has been posted in the classwork tab. And then you can still see everything that's due that day right here in the Due Today button. You can also see it when you look at Google Classroom like this. So, for instance, if it's your Google Classroom, when you click on it first thing in the morning, you should be able to see, oh, look, every class has a list of what's due. So this is a very important thing that you can do and show your parents too if they have any questions about it, okay? But I digress. Let's get to how I set this up. I made it even more simple than it was. Online textbook access, oh, check that out. With the instructions, just like it always was in the stream, but now it's in one spot. It can't be lost. It's right there. Okay, makes it super, super, super easy. Okay, then, oh, look, attendance by the day. Okay, attendance by the day, super easy. So this is the order you would do things. Lessons, oh, look, lessons by the day. I'm about to post lesson number 4 right now, here in like 5 minutes. So as soon as I'm done making this video. So you'll see it. And then also, if you want to look back and not listen to my voice and watch a video, I posted all of them here in chronological order. You're welcome. All right. And then finally, after you've taken attendance, you've checked out and learned from your lesson, now you do your work. Yay. And then the Hawk Focus are literally set up by day, and the classwork assignment set up by day. So super easy. And then if you are looking to do any work on your final paper, here's still your rubric, and here's your working thesis statement assignment. Hadn't gone anywhere. They're there. Okay. So that's just a quick overview of this slide and what it does. All right. So back to the nitty gritty. Here's what your Hawk Focus looks like for the day. Moving on with life. State standard. We're in the bottom half of this thing. So 5.3, we're supposed to be summarizing the successes and failures of Reconstruction in South Carolina, including the creation of political, educational, and social opportunities for African Americans, the rise of discriminatory groups, and the withdrawal of federal protection. So that sums up literally everything we're going to talk about there in bold. All right, we got to talk about legacy of the Republican government. we had a lot of religious denominations in the North that were philanthropists, and they set up colleges for African Americans. You say, Mr. Ferguson, what's a philanthropist? It's basically someone that does something that's beneficial to other people just because. A philanthropist does things because it makes them feel good. It makes them happy about the way that they've helped society. So, for instance, if you had some spare money and you set up a soup kitchen here in Sumter to help feed the homeless, you could call yourself a bit of a philanthropist. Okay, so you've got Claflin College, Benedict College, Allen University, and Avery Institute. All these are historically black colleges here in South Carolina, and poof, there they are for them. Okay, people that had been marginalized by the majority for a long time now needed a safe haven to be able to go and be educated. So that's what the idea was behind these African American educational institutions. All right. Now, as a result of this expansion of government, a lot of former slave owners, a lot of whites refused to participate in this. They were like, "Whoa, pump the brakes, no bueno, don't want any part of this. We like society the way it was. There was an order to it." So whites began to form vigilante groups like the KKK, Red Shirts, and the Riflemen. So it's not just the KKK. Keep in mind, there was a couple different groups. But these vigilante groups would dole out, or another simplified word for dole is to be like hand out or to execute justice on people, even though they really weren't executing justice. But they were trying to carry on a campaign of terror against African Americans. So if you were an African American and you were trying to get a prominent place in society and make a name for yourself and do a good job and get a good job, they were going to make sure it was super difficult for you to do that. They were going to terrorize you and your family and threaten to kill you. And if you didn't stop doing what they didn't like you doing, they were probably going to hang you in a tree. So super rude, needless to say, and unacceptable behavior. But it is what ended up coming out of this. There was a lot of hatred in people because they had lost so much and they needed someone to pin the blame on. And honestly, I just think it was the most convenient thing to pin it on former slaves, even though it's stupidity, but it was convenient. They needed a scapegoat, so to speak, and it was easy to do. Okay. Legacy of the Republican government continued. The KKK insulted, whipped, and or murdered their victims. And under President Grant, that's Ulysses S. Grant, that's the same man that was the commanding general of the Union Army during the Civil War. Under his administration, the Ku Klux Klan Act was passed. Okay, so an act was passed, and he approved it. The KKK Act gave the president the power to suppress state disorders and to suspend the right of habeas corpus. Basically, the KKK had gotten so violent and so ridiculous that the president got an act of Congress passed saying that he would be able to go in and use federal monies, federal troops to suppress this crazy, insane behavior and even suspend the right of habeas corpus. And that means that fundamental human rights would be denied to people participating in this type of thing. Habeas corpus is a long rabbit trail I don't want to get into right now, but it would limit a person's criminal rights, like to trial and things like that. In other words, it was more just like, hey, the president can be the judge, jury, and executioner in this situation because this thing was so bad. It was almost like declaring martial law. Troops were also sent to South Carolina to regain order, and that military occupation did not sit well with very many people. Having the military boss you around and tell you what to do on a daily basis and be the police, no fun. Trust me, not fun. They're not normal local cops that know, Mr. John up the road and Miss Susie down the street. It's people that have an agenda, and they're normally young military soldiers, and they don't have a lot of life experience, and they're not super duper kind when they execute their job. So that military police action was pretty difficult for the South to swallow as well. So the KKK became angered, and the vigilante group decided to rebel even harder. So they had a bit of a massacre here. The Hamburg Massacre of 1876 took place in Aiken County in South Carolina, and unfortunately 6 African-American militia members were killed by a white mob. So this is down near the Georgia-South Carolina line. You can see the Savannah River there on the map, and you can see Hamburg and North Augusta. And so it was right there, close to the Georgia line, where unfortunately 6 people lost their lives. due to angry vigilante groups that were just upset with the way the government was handling Reconstruction. So let's talk about the red shirts. The red shirts went on a campaign of terrorism to make sure that Wade Hampton III was elected governor. They wanted one of the old guard to be the governor. They wanted someone who remembered the old white aristocratic style system where there were elites in charge that were, people of wealth and money, and they didn't want some new radical person to get in there that was going to change things up too much. And so Hampton had been a Confederate general, and he was the Southern Democratic candidate for governor. Remember, Democrats and Republicans were very, very diametrically opposed at this time. Okay, even probably more so than today. And so the Democratic candidate was Wade Hampton the third, and he just was absolutely against all of these things that President Grant and Lincoln before him and was trying to get to happen. So basically, President Grant tried to send troops to make sure that the election was fair because there was a bunch of rigging the system. You would cast your vote for one candidate, and magically those votes would get counted, and then another person would cast their vote for a different candidate, and magically those votes didn't get counted. So there was a lot going on, a lot of nefarious activity. That's your $10 word for the day. Nefarious means kind of like up to no good. Okay, so we're almost there, guys. The withdrawal of federal troops came to pass because the government can only pay for that for so long. It's very expensive to have an army acting as the police. The electoral votes from South Carolina and 2 other states were disputed because they said that the election was not fair. And South Carolina voted for Rutherford B. Hayes to become president, and federal troops ultimately left the state. Because Rutherford B. Hayes basically kind of sold his soul to the devil and said, hey, if y'all vote for me, I'll end military reconstruction and to send the troops home. And everybody was like, yes, that guy. That's who we want for president. And African Americans, though, unfortunately, former slaves were left to fend for themselves with very, very, very little protection from any government entity at that point because the state was not really that concerned with helping them. And so see this illustration right down here. We got a what's that? 1836 Navy revolver, and a whip. So that's what we're kind of looking at here. It was a rough and difficult time to be anyone living during this period, but it was especially difficult for freedmen or someone who was really struggling to make a name for themselves just because of the way their skin looked. It was really a difficult thing, and unfortunately, people were not kind to one another. They were more out for themselves than being concerned with doing the right thing. So anyway, guys, that's our lesson for today. If you have any questions, I'm going to be holding a video conference here a little bit later this afternoon, and I'll post that via email. All right, guys, y'all take care. Have a great day, and don't let the COVID-19 boogaloo scare you, and don't get any cabin fever. All right, get outside. Just don't be around people, but get outside. Enjoy this beautiful weather before it rains this weekend. Take care.